Good morning and welcome to the Morning Breath live stream where we start our day with coherence. I'm your host, Jeremy Tennell, systems designer and coherence coach. And today is week 14, day 69 of our 14-week journey entitled The Path of Personal Transformation. Today will mark the official end of this particular 14-week journey. We'll continue with the Morning Breath live stream every day at 5:30 Pacific time, right here live. And I hope you'll continue to join me. And we'll go through what we're going to be talking about and what the next journey is going to be here a little bit, and just a little bit on the live stream. One of the things that systems designers are constantly looking for, constantly seeking to find the patterns of, is feedback. Feedback and feedback loops are so important because they reveal the leverage point. They reveal where our opportunities are. So in that spirit, if you are on this live stream, it would be greatly appreciated if you would like and follow and subscribe to this channel. The primary channel that I am streaming through is YouTube, and that's where the content lands first and then goes out. So if you utilize that platform and go to Plowline within YouTube and like and subscribe there, it'd be greatly appreciated. However, any of the platforms that you're watching on are awesome places in order to interact. Secondly, if you've got feedback that you can provide, leave a comment. It would be greatly appreciated. I want to improve what we're doing here. I want this to be something that can be of value to people, and your feedback would be greatly appreciated along that path. Today, I thought I would do 7 questions, and within those questions, I want to kind of take you along my motivation and thoughts behind creating the Morning Breath live stream. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first question is why did you create the Morning Breath live stream? I created it because I'm wrapping up a dissertation journey, a PhD journey. In my life, I chose a path of education. The motivation behind that path changed along the way throughout my life. First, I was not a very good student in high school. I didn't enjoy school, but I grew up in an era in which the pursuit of education was all around us. And so I went and I got a college education, and I'm glad I did. It taught me it taught me how to read, really, and it taught me how to write, and it was a valuable experience. I don't know that it necessarily translated into any sort of career for me. Early on, it did. It throughout my 20s and early 30s. I was a marketing manager. I did some things, but much later in life, my wife encouraged me to go and get a master's degree in whole systems, which I did, and that changed my life in many ways. And I am now pursuing a PhD in writing a contribution to systems and complexity theory, which I think are extremely valuable in the age in which we live. And one of the things that I saw in that process was a lot of people go and get degrees just for the credential, because it's a transformative journey for them, because it's a piece of paper that they can hang on their wall, but they don't do anything with it because they don't know what to do with it. And if there was one thing that I learned in my early career as an operations person and as a entrepreneur, was that whatever it is you have accredited yourself for is only as good as how you are able to apply it. So the Morning Breath live stream is about trying to apply the principles behind that work, behind my dissertation, behind my contribution to systems and complexity theory. And that's why I created it, because I believe that in a world that is being driven in many ways by digital systems, by ones and zeros, by binary code, and a theory that emerged out of this revolution, this computer revolution, which is systems and complexity theories. It is a social philosophy now that is extremely applicable to creating a model of the world that allows us to see it for what it is. So I created it so that I could hopefully work with you in learning those principles. Question 2. What surprised me most during this 14-week experience? Well, I would say my own path of, if I'm going to be doing a path of transformation on any platform, I inherently know that that transformation is woven into my own journey as well. How that transformation has kind of taken place surprised me a little bit. I knew that the transformation would grow as far as the content getting better, my ability to show up here and try and be as authentic authentic, and myself would get better. I knew those things would improve. I think one of the things that that has changed is, I guess, my confidence in being a light. I think our world needs light bearers, not one, not a few, many light bearers. And in stepping up to do this experience, I was consciously stepping into a role of being a light bearer to create more light bearers. So I initially did not have a lot of confidence about that. And now I see it as a driving purpose in my life. Question number 3. What do you think the most important lesson is from this journey? Well, I mean, I would say that the lesson that translates to both myself and to anybody who is watching: be consistent, show up. That's it. That's it. If you show up for the journey, you're going on the journey. The journey's going to transform you. All you have to do is take the step. That's really the key. All you have to do is be here. Wherever here is. Whatever that journey is in your life, show up. And the transformation will take place. Question 4. Why did I spend so much time discussing systems and not just personal growth? I thought this was a pretty good question. Sorry. One of the things that we're taught and trained in our worldview collectively, and this is kind of true almost everywhere at this point, because this paradigm has spread across the globe through commerce, colonization, and capitalism at this point. we're taught that the world can be broken down into its smallest parts in order to in order to understand, automate, commoditize. We're told that if we take the whole and break it into its parts, that it becomes a means of profit. It becomes a means of production. It becomes something that we can utilize, a catalyst. And it's true. It totally works. That is the worldview that colonization created over the past 600 years. Longer than that, really, but 600 years in our modern sense. And it is out of sync with the natural system that surrounds the human system. It does not jive with the universal system around us, which we are but a tiny microscopic speck of sand. The human system compared to the universal system is minuscule. And so we forget ourselves. We forget where we are. We forget what we are. And in the process, we become a species lost. One of the things that colonization did is that it removed each and every one of us from our ancestral connection. And our ancestral connection, our indigenous ancestral connection, some of us lost that a couple thousand years ago. Some of us lost that 100 years ago. That connection, so for others, for some, it can be remembered. And for others, it's completely forgotten. That connection is a connection of relationship. That connection is a connection to the universal system, to land, to water, to sky, to self. Fascinatingly enough, systems and complexity theory become a resurgence of indigenous ways of being, of indigenous paradigms, of interconnection and relationship. That is what it's about. It is not about breaking the whole down into its parts. It is about looking at the relationship between the parts, understanding them, knowing their flow, knowing their movements, finding the leverage points, knowing where you fit into it. That is systems and complexity. And in a world that is algorithmically driving a division between ourselves, our identities as individuals, as well as communities, as people, as a species, a new paradigm is so vitally important for our survival, our sovereignty, and our continued existence as human beings on this planet and in this universe. That's why I talk about systems. Personal growth is wrapped up in it. Number 5, what concerns me most about the future? I've talked a little bit on this podcast about my upbringing, and I won't go deeply into it. But I grew up in a dichotomy between a father's household that was strict and evangelical and Christian and had a lot of rules, and a mother's household that was New Age and exploratory and didn't have a lot of rules. And so within me, I developed a bicameral presence about who I am. And it took me a long time to figure out how to balance that. Although I no longer consider myself a Christian, that doesn't make me, I am a Christ follower because I believe that there is truth found in not just science, not just inquiry, not just study, not just academic pursuit, but also in mystery, in prophecy, in myth. These things both hold great truth. And they don't just hold great truth about what it is to be a human being, they hold great truth of what it is to be human beings as a collective. We are tied together, all of us, as independently as we'd like to think ourselves. And I believe that as I've studied, and I've spent the past 20 years after leaving the Christian church, reading everything I could get my hands on as far as religious studies is concerned, and a clear pattern emerges that I'm not going to go deeply into today because it's too big. But and maybe that will be a future path that we'll take on this live stream. We are headed towards an inevitability as a human species. There's no way around it. And whatever that is, it's not what others have described, said, written about, produced best-selling books, about. It's not that. Those are things that are just glimpsing at the shadows or creating a for-profit model for them. But it is there. It is there. And the in my lifetime, the world dramatically changed from what it was before. I saw one of the moments in human history in which the world shifted. And there's been a few. And the world's always transforming, the world's always changing. But there are moments where the world shifts and spins on its axle so fast. And I lived through one of them. Between the old world before the millennium and this new world we are existing in. The rise of algorithms and our interconnection through digital devices, and now artificial intelligence, and what is soon to be integrated into that, which is the quantum computing aspect of it. Our world's going to change. Our world is already changing in such a dramatic way. And we are losing what remnant of humanity we had retained previously. We are giving up our sovereignty. We are giving up our ability to be free thinking individuals. We are giving up our ability in order to create for ourselves. And I'm not talking about AI videos, and I use AI to help me write scripts for this. I don't think it's an evil. I think it's a powerful tool in the hands of for-profit billionaires who have demonstrated thus far that they have no regard for the well-being of human society or human beings. What they do have regard for is for-profit power, influence, and money. Unless we learn the basic principles of what it is to be a sovereign, capable, responsible human being, whatever freedom you think you have is going to slip into, well, frankly, it'll probably slip into oblivion. Because if the jobs really do go away the way they're talking about, and what need do they have for 8.5 billion of us? What do they need 8.5 billion of us? That's my concern. And that sounds an awful lot like stuff I remember in prophetic readings as a kid. What gives me hope? You do. You give me hope. I believe in the evolution of the human consciousness. I believe, more than believe, I see the evidence. I've read it. I've studied it. It's my field of study. I'm literally getting a PhD in a program called Transformative Studies in Consciousness. This is important stuff right now for human beings. I believe in the human capacity to grow far beyond whatever screens, algorithms, and devices can provide us. We are dependent on them. And we can be the masters of them if we choose to be. The future does not have to be some inevitable apocalypse. In fact, I would say that look at the movies for the past 35, 40 years. You know, from Deep Impact and Armageddon, being the first ones that I kind of remember that started this apocalypse blockbuster melee, to to all the zombie movies that and films. Like, the messaging is clear. We're doomed. That's the messaging. I don't think so. I don't think we are. And I do think that something will come out of whatever is to come. We probably are going to have to learn a very hard lesson. But I believe there are a select few people, light bearers, who can illuminate the way. And if you're one of them, let's build something together here. Question 7 is, what is Zoetics and where are we going next? The Greek word for life, or about life, or thriving, is Zo. And as I have been doing my work with my wife in our consulting firm, and our learning and development company, I began to develop a series of principles that I call Zoetics, the Zoetic principles. And I am now applying those Zoetic principles into my dissertation that I will be writing over the course of the next year. Zoetics are a systems and complexity-based algorithm for human thriving. And I'm not talking about, this is how you make millions and manifest a boat. I've got enough experience in my life that if I wanted to turn all of this into a self-help money-making machine, it wouldn't be tough. I could create the sales funnels and come on here and jive my way into profitability. That's really not the point. The point is change and transformation. And Zoetics is a series of principles that we've already discussed. I just didn't call them Zoetics within the Morning Breath live stream, within the 14-week path of personal transformation. Self-reflection, self-awareness, self-regulation, and ongoing self-inquiry are the foundational pieces to that. Knowing where we sit within the triadic alignment, my wife's guiding principles of aloha: ask, listen, observe, heart focus, and adapt, which she wrote and is currently working on her book. And you can check her out at Dr. G on Instagram, co3.com, co3.net, co3consulting.net is where you can check that out. She's brilliant. and she is a part of all of this. So the Zoetic principles are this foundational set of principles in which something can be built, something beyond the paradigm we're currently living. They're the principles that we can plant as seeds and build new paradigms in order to make the old paradigms obsolete. That's what they are. So where are we going next? We're going to continue with the Morning Breath live stream. We're going to continue to build on coherence and self-reflection and self-awareness, self-regulation and self-inquiry. We're going to continue to explore what it is to engage those things through breath and intention and awareness. And in the very near future, I'll create the space for those light bearers to begin to gather, and we will come together and we're going to build that paradigm. That's what's next. I hope you'll join me. If so, if you're interested, give me feedback. Follow, like, subscribe. I can't do it alone. Alone, I'm just a talking head on a screen that you just scroll through. And, you're not alone. I do it too. But together, we could build something new. All right, let's do a short breath work this morning before we end, because it's kind of the foundational point. We practice breath because to know how to become aware and to know how to engage with breath when it really counts, when those moments come that you need to engage your coherence, you can't get there unless you practice. So let's find a comfortable seat. Let's roll our shoulders. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale all your breath out. Again. Let's inhale through our nose for about 6 seconds. Exhale through your mouth for 6. Again. Find a pattern. Be intentional. Target your heart. Let's begin that gratitude list. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for the opportunities that are coming. I'm thankful for the moment that I'm in. I'm thankful for my support system. I'm thankful for my wife and partner. You continue on your own for the next few minutes. If you get distracted, come back to your breath and gratitude. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale and come back into the space. One more. If this resonates with you, continue with this work. Personal transformation is not a destination. It is a preparation for how we choose to participate in life. Tomorrow morning, I'll be traveling. So if I can briefly pop on, I will, but I'll probably be in a TSA line. So take a breath. I will definitely see you Monday morning.